Firefighters have put up a fight to save the home. Fire information, can I help you?
87 was a bad year out west.
Firefighters say a deep layer of brush is making the forest floor burn like charcoal.
We were smoked in for 21 days.
Reinforcements being brought in from every part of the country.
88, I was out in Yellowstone as a smoke chaser.
And now 500 acres have been scorched.
Yeah, that was a busy year too.
This is going to be one tough fight this summer.
The Hunter Fire in Wyoming.
Boulder County turning grasslands into wasteland.
Came back, went to Idaho.
Firefighters weren't just battling a blaze, they were waging a war.
And I was assigned here in 89 at my reservation and recognized because we were having so many wildfires that we needed a tool to control those fires that we were having.
500 acres have been scorched.
I was talking to one of my good friends. He says, "I'm glad you got a good job, Vern. Just remember, not all fire is bad."
Yeah, my first experiences with fire were, initial attack in this area, and just the energy of it and the excitement of it and all that. And then as I got deeper into doing research with fire and seeing how people were involved with setting fire in terms of how our ancestors utilized fire on the landscape, definitely my relationship with fire has evolved over these years.
People, land, and fire have interacted with one another for a really long time. Modern society, like American society, has forgotten our historical relationship with fire. And I think that indigenous communities in many cases have some pretty strong perspective or really good context for understanding how we should be interacting and stewarding place.
I think a lot about our connection to landscape, our human connection to landscape, and how disconnected we are today. And I think that's part of this story too, is that there's this narrative about Native people and that they were just kind of clueless, wandering around, and luckily come across food every once in a while. But they are so advanced in their understanding of this world around us, beyond anything that we know today. And fire was a part of that, and fire was a big part of that. When you see, scars on stumps like this that indicate fire was present, where they're so close together that the only thing that could explain that would be a human cause. What that means is basically there was fire that was intentionally set on this landscape, and this landscape was influenced by fire by humans. burn a landscape, you create charcoal on that landscape, and we have, analysis of different peat bogs and things like that that talk about the charcoal that's in areas and how there aren't really spikes in charcoal, but it's just kind of like a common, like an up and down flow, meaning that fire was present, but not big fire, but mostly it was just kind of like accumulation of small fire.
Oh, there it goes, kind of.
When I was a kid, I was about 5 or 6, and I remember looking to the west in the evening and seeing this glow. And there was a forest fire about 30 miles away. Then it rained and you didn't see it anymore. But I remember that every evening you'd see that glow in the sky. But like you said, we had faith in the fire would do what it was supposed to do. And as I got into it, as far as learning the science of fire and how we were using it as a tool with prescribed fire, I come to respect it even more, because then I understood a lot more of what we were doing.
So this was basically like a stump laying on the ground, and we cut into it and got this piece out of it. So you can see like this ring right here, there's 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years right here. 8 years between these two fires. So either that's a really unlucky tree or people were burning around them.
From the beginning, when our ancient ancestors learned that they could use fire, they were using it for all sorts of different reasons. I mean, just to open space, to get rid of, insects or ticks, to open it up for being able to see game, being able to see through the forest for a mile or two or something like that. And people were burning in this area for blueberries was one of the reasons why.
There was summer of 2008 where there were firefighters that would go out in the evening hours and pick in these areas that burned in the Ham Lake fire, 2007, and they'd come back with coolers full of blueberries. And it's like, okay, this is clearly one way that people were getting by up here, both to feed themselves, but also to interact with as part of the fur trade.
This blueberry patch here has been thousands of years in the making. And I can honestly say that my great-great-great-grandmother probably picked blueberries right here, because she lived right over there.
There was one elder who remembered that when he was a little boy, he would sit down in the blueberry patch and all he would see was blue. He would just see blue forever. You would not be able to do that today. The abundance isn't there anymore.
If we were to not do anything in this forest, it would start turning into a hardwood forest. So what natives did is basically pause succession by adding fire, because you kind of almost like reset it each time. You're basically like holding it in like a state of suspension. This wasn't chance, this was the scientific method in process, testing hypotheses and then over time perfecting that to the point where you knew how the fire was going to behave and what the fire was going to give you in return. I mean, these folks weren't just wishful thinking. It was a deliberate application of fire for specific reasons.
But there's a lot of reasons here, not just the blueberries. You got the rose hips, you got June berries, choke cherries, your young maple coming in.
I took the Wisconsin state species list that's associated with fire-dependent ecosystems and then went to this Ojibwe medicine list. And every single one of those species that was listed in the state reference document was also listed in this Ojibwe medicine document. So medicines that were used for
like curing stomach issues or headaches. Every single one of those was a medicine.
This was our Mecca. This had everything we needed. It fed us, it clothed us, everything. But that all changed when the government, in its wisdom, wanted our land.
Uncontrolled fire can burn down houses, take lives, or kill a forest.
When the federal suppression policies came into place starting in 1910s and 20s and 30s, that really influenced people's ability to go out and set fire to these landscapes to continue maintaining them. When those folks a long time ago were burning, the behaviors were minimized because they were doing it so often. So today, because we've suppressed fire for so long, we'll get more intense fires, more intense behavior.
Evacuations are underway with residents being told to leave immediately.
We have so many more barriers to putting fire on the ground. There's so much land ownership differences across acreage. You have homes in forests, or you have, subdivisions or something like that in forests. We just kind of get in the way of ourselves.
Now have people from all over the country, Maine, Montana.
It is raging out of control.
Ultimately, we're going to either embrace fire across our landscapes, or we're going to keep on fighting it.
It's like, how do we push conversation in the direction where we are no longer thinking about our fire management needs as places where we need to put out fires, but looking at all the opportunities we have to bring back thoughtful, planned fire to places that need it.
With Stockton Island, it's a federal land management agency that has basically taken the traditional cultural practice of Native people and integrated it into land management. So it was a big shift going from suppression of fires to reapplication of fires on a federal agency public land. And when we actually did do the burn, we asked Vern to do the first spark of fire on that landscape.
That was a good moment. That was one of the highlights of my firefighting, was to strike that spark, to bring that fire, that spirit back to that island that's been removed for so long.
Our culture, our identity, our way of seeing the world is based on a burned landscape. So it isn't just about blueberries, it's really who we are is embedded in this.
We don't look at it as being destructive, and it's a spirit that we respect very much. And in that respect, it helps us. It helps us to survive.
We have a whole lot that we can learn. We need to create space and provide opportunities for stories to be shared about how to deal with the greatest challenge of our time, which is to live in a landscape without destroying it.